And the last question, nearly end now. So we've got 2x plus y equals 1. And we've got the other equation there. We're going to show where k is a non-zero constant. So k is not going to be 0. We're going to show that we get x squared plus 8x plus k. So all sorts of different things people do for this one. When you've got two simultaneous equations like this, one of them is linear, one of them is not, rearrange your linear equation and then sub in. Now remember, we're trying to show that we get x squared plus 8kx plus x, so we need to eliminate y. Okay, so don't rearrange it for x, because if you rearrange it for x and sub it in, you'll just have y values. Also, if you do that, you'll get a fraction. We don't want to be dealing, and then you'll have to square that fraction, and it'll make the whole thing very complicated. So just rearrange it for your linear equation and make sure you've got y equals, because that's what we're going to sub in. So we sub this in. So just where we see y, we're going to replace it with the y minus 2x plus 5k equals 0. Okay, make sure you're timesing every thing, that 1 minus 2x, make sure you're timesing that by the whole of the 4k, okay? So don't just do k times that or 4 times that, just make sure you're doing 4k times 1 minus 2x. So expanding that out, we get the following. And then all we then need to do is just 5k minus 4k just makes a positive k, as well as the 8kx I already have here. And thankfully I get what I was asked to show. Part B then. Given that x squared plus 8kx plus k equals 0 has equal roots, find the value of k. It has equal roots. This is a question about using our good old friend the discriminant. Okay, that is b squared minus 4ac. This will tell us how many roots, so how many places where it crosses the x-axis an equation will have. So if b squared minus 4ac equals 0, there is only one root in this scenario, because if you think about your quadratic equation, the b squared minus 4ac, that's the bit in your square root. If it equals 0, then there's only one solution. Okay, if it's a positive number, then there'll be the positive and the negative part that you take from that. If it's a negative number, you can't square root a negative number. Well, as long as we're talking about real numbers, we can't square root a negative number. So in that case, there'll be no solutions. But we're looking at equal roots, so when it's equal roots, b squared minus 4ac will equal 0, which makes it a little bit easier because we're not dealing with any inequalities here. So remember, quadratic equations in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So a is just 1, because the number in front of the x squared is just a 1. Okay, you can't see it, but it is there in theory. B is 8k, not just 8, but 8k. Okay, so it's all that's in front of the x is an 8k. The coefficient of x is 8k. And C, again, make sure you don't put 1, make sure you put k. Okay, it's just a constant k. It is a number, because it's a number we're going to find. So we've got that now, so now we're going to put it into our discriminant. Really important thing here, common thing people did was they told me this was just 8k squared. You're doing b squared, okay? B is 8k. So if b is 8k, then b squared is 8k times 8k. That's why I'm putting in a bracket there to show you that I've got to square all of it, okay? So I've got to square both terms inside the bracket because it's 8k times 8k. I'm sure if I wrote out that as a sum to solve 8k times 8k, you'd know to times the numbers and then times the variables. And then 4 times 1 times a k. So 8k all squared is just 64k squared. Okay, that's 8 squared, which is 64, times k squared, which is obviously just k squared. 4 times 1 times k is just 4k. Oh, sorry, I missed up that. That's equal to 0 on the other line. Now if I can divide by a 4. I'll get 16k squared minus k equals 0. Take k out as a common factor. Okay, so you can just make this full screen. You can, in this case, get away with dividing both sides by k because you're told it's non-zero, but just be careful because if k wasn't 0, you'd be losing one of your solutions if you did that, because of course you can't divide by 0. So if it all go wrong if k was 0, but you are okay to divide both sides by k here because you're told k is a non-zero constant. But we've got it in factorised form here anyway, so we can see that our two solutions to this equation that we've got here will be k equals 0, but we know that k is non-zero, so that's not a solution. And then our other solution be k equals 1 over 16, because 16 times the 16th gives us 1. 1 take away 1 is just 0. So k will be 16. So let's take that through to the final part. So it says, for this value of k, find the solution of the simultaneous equations. It wasn't wrong to do so, but I saw a lot of people go right back to the beginning and put in this value of k. It's not wrong, just probably made things a little bit harder than you needed to. There's a reason why you've got it in this form here. It's so that you can sub it in to this, and it'll make it just that little bit easier. So 8 divided by 16 is just going to leave us with a half, so left with x over 2, and then k we just worked out was 1 over 16. Okay, so I've already solved these simultaneously in the first part to get to that solution of x squared plus 8kx plus k equals 0. So now I know what k is. Just solve this quadratic equation that we've got here. Usually when you solve simultaneous equations, you do what we did in the first part, and then you'd be able to factorise or whatever to find out what x was, and then therefore find y. But we couldn't go any further because we had this variable k that we didn't know at the time. Okay, but now we know k, we can put it in here, and it's almost like now we found k, we can continue what we were doing beforehand. Now at the moment, looking at factorising this is not going to be pleasant, is it? But if we times everything through by 16, we'll get rid of all these fractions. Okay, if we times this term x over 2 by 16, that just leaves us with 8x, because it'll be 16 divided by 2, which is 8. And then we just get the following. Now 16x squared plus 8x plus 1, that sounds like a bit of a nightmare to try and factorise, but let's just remember, we know when k is this value, it's going to have equal roots. So there's only one there's only one expression that's going to be in both brackets. Okay, the same expression will be in both brackets. Okay, there's only one solution to this. So the only way I can have the same expression in both brackets is if I have 4x here, 4x here. So at first it looks daunting because you're thinking, well, 16x squared, I could do 16 times 1, 8 times 2, 4 times 4. But because you know it's got equal roots, there's only going to be one solution. So you're going to have both. You're going to have the same in both brackets. So it's got to be a 4 because that's the only term that's going to be the same. And also you want to make the 1, so it has to be a 1 as your other term in the brackets. So you could also write that's 4x plus 1 all squared equals 0. And there'd be another number of other ways you could solve this, but this is just one of them. So x therefore is just minus 1 over 4, and when x is minus 1 over 4, remember we need to solve a simultaneous, we need to find the y solution as well. So that's just going to be 2 times minus a quarter is just minus a half, plus y equals 1. So adding a half to both sides, y is just equal to 3 over 2. And that's it. Okay, thank you for bearing all this time. Okay, hopefully you are making the improvements you need to. Hopefully this answers some of the questions you may have had about the assessment. Leave comments below on the video, or just get in contact with me at college. Make sure you come to me with anything you're still not sure on. Okay, some of these topics, if you're struggling with, things like if you're struggling with your surds, go away and do some practice on surds. I'm sure in no time you will improve.